Why is Valorant so hard? Things seem simple enough to do, just point and click the head, right? If only it were that simple. Valorant's not just about aim. There are so many components that make up a complete player. This includes aim, of course, but also ability usage, game sense, map knowledge, movement, and communication. Having the full package versus just aim is what differentiates a good player from a great player. Only a select few players have achieved perfect mechanics in the game and are dominating. And one of those players is none other than Sonder. Sonder is one of the top players in Valorant, easily hitting Radiant and standing in the top of the Valorant game changer scene. Let's break down the exact mechanics and skills that Sonder utilizes so you too can rise up the rankings and destroy the opposition. Before we get into it, this video is just a glimpse of what we have to offer. If you want a full detailed guide on how to improve in Valorant, then you want to check out our website over at SkillCapped, but more on that at the end of the video. First off, Sonder is one of the queens of movement to deceive the enemy, and this is precisely the reason she plays duelists like Raze and Neon, who are movement specialists meant to outmaneuver their enemies. Let's start with a simple Neon play that Sonder has perfected.
Really bold instead. Seemed that it was the key utility as well to open up the C site.
Yeah, exactly. It's the speed of just capitalizing immediately off of that fault line. It's just so huge.
When you're up close and personal, prepping high gear ahead of time will allow you to dash across the enemy screen. This makes it very difficult for the enemy to properly place their crosshair on you. I mean, if we look at Mel's perspective, what can you do about that? She sees Sonder for a split second and then she doesn't. Good night. If you're a Neon player, this is one of your bread and butter plays, so definitely work on preparing high gear and getting a good close-up dash that'll force the enemy to have to adjust their crosshair. Now, let's get a little more complex. Sonder is fantastic at utilizing abilities to put herself in angles that the enemy just isn't expecting.
3 players on the flank, ult coming in, there's the showstopper, Sonder through, but look at the combination! Stunned up, ult through, she's stuck, but still finds one onto Daiki in heaven. TL are trapped, they need to fight through the smoke, flash in, Sonder there, sprays away!
Sonder!
3 out of Sonder, another flash, can they make it out? Absolutely not! Sonder shutting it all down, and she'll need the ace. 1 versus 1, it's Bastarda on the other side, the spike planted in the open!
Sonder!
In this clip, Sonder prepares to go into the site with her satchel and showstopper. She starts in with an initial satchel and ult, but her combo stops briefly due to Brimstone's orbital strike. In most cases, seeing an orbital strike would cause someone to immediately back away, but not if it's Sonder on the field. Sonder continues satcheling onto site. The timing of this is very important. With so many abilities used, it's hard to clearly hear Sonder's satchel, and because of that, Sonder's location becomes a bit of a mystery to the enemy team. Taking advantage of that, Sonder is able to fire her showstopper towards nearby bullet shots and snags a frag. And from here, Sonder makes another smart move in faking the enemy. She taps the spike to force the enemy to check side or risk a pro's don't fake situation. Because of this tap, the enemy flashes out and immediately faces the spike just in case Sonder decided to stick it. Knowing this, Sonder smartly moves toward the edge of sight next to the smoke where she knows the enemy will pop out. This was unsuspected, and she snags an easy 2 kills. The key to these kills was positioning where the enemy least expects. To improve your movement, focus on how you can use abilities to outmaneuver your enemies. For Neon, this would include learning to use high gear to dash in front of a nearby enemy. For Raze, this would include learning to perform quick satchel boosts to get in and out of certain situations. You can do this by looking down towards the ground, drop your satchel, and then pop the satchel after moving in front of it slightly and jumping. And more importantly, regardless of what agent you're playing, always think about where you can move yourself that the enemy won't expect. This gives you a positional advantage, thus increasing your odds of winning an engagement. Following things up, we can't have perfect mechanics without perfect ability usage. Sonder's use of abilities has outsmarted several players in game changers, and have even left casters completely shocked at her plays. Let's start with this Raze play that will certainly turn your head.
Okay, pressure now, Sonder. Should she stay or should she go? She tries to stick around a little longer here, trying to slow down Juliana, who you gotta turn around and pay attention. Oh my god! Sonder!
We start off positioned in showers and are met with a rushing G2 through A short. The play starts off with a nade thrown to slow down the push, and this gives more time to reposition and hopefully take more of a one-on-one duel if needed. It works out, as the enemy Raze is the only one to successfully push past the nade. Now the enemy team is separated. Before we continue the clip, you'll notice that Sonder's turning back and forth between site and showers. Showers wasn't cleared, so there's a possibility she's getting pincered. This makes it even more important that she slows one side down. The satchel successfully achieved this, giving time to briefly clear showers before turning back to hit an insane flick on the enemy raise. Even after this kill, showers wasn't thoroughly cleared, so Saunders continues to check before going back to get another nasty shot onto Fade. From here, we're one shot away from dead, and another enemy's pushing in. With this low health, there's a good chance we won't be able to win the aim duel, so instead of going for that, another kill's guaranteed by quickly reacting and pulling out Showstopper. By slowing down the enemy with satchels, Sonder was able to isolate duels versus getting pincered and swarmed by multiple players at once. This was absolutely key to getting her a 3K versus being stuck in a sticky situation and killed right off the rip. Next time you're in a bad position, think about how you can use your abilities to get out of that position, or just make the best of it. Way too many times we see low elo players just accept their fate and go for the duel against several players. Do not do this. And I repeat, don't do this. Abilities aren't just good at getting you out of an unfavorable situation though, they can also turn a neutral situation into a favorable one as well. Something as simple as a grenade could be all it takes to distort the enemy's setup.
Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, everyone's flashed, Sonder includes, like, oh, I got a second one? Let me come back for the third.
She gets the nade refresh, by the way, off those 2 judge kills, and has another to get the kill onto DRN.
In this clip, Sonder throws a nade through doors, forcing the enemy to back away. Her team then pushes in and catches Team Liquid while they were focused on dodging the grenade. With their attention elsewhere, this was the perfect chance to go for fights, and Shopify Rebellion wins them with ease. Just like with this last clip, ability usage doesn't have to be complicated. Think about using them in a way that can give you a better edge in an engagement. That could be satcheling closer or further from a player, walling off a choke point so your team can defuse a spike, or just flashing before you push in. Most low elo players don't really use abilities, or if they do, they use them without much thought put into whether they used them well. Each ability used has a specific purpose. Think about the positions you typically play and where you can best use your abilities to take control of that position every round. Now, if you do this, no one will dare challenge you. I'm sure no one wanted to challenge Saunders in shower again after she made that insane play. A key part in how Sonder was able to make the plays we've seen so far is through good game knowledge along with fast reaction times to supplement that. One aspect that really stuck out to us as we reviewed Sonder's gameplay is just how crazy she is at dodging flashes. Avoiding a flash requires you to quickly turn away from it before it's triggered. By doing so, the flash only lasts a brief moment, allowing you to still be ready to take on a duel. After dodging the flash, you want to quickly turn back towards your enemy's location so you don't have to adjust your crosshair too much. Going back to an earlier clip, Sonder quickly avoids an initial breach flash, and that helped her snag 2 frags from towers. Had she been blind, the enemy would have had time to notice her character model was blocking them. Then they would just turn and she'd be dead meat. Not only does Saunders dodge the first flash and get 2 kills, she also dodges the second flash and gets the kill onto Breach himself afterwards. Dodging flashes requires quick reactions and also anticipation. If the enemy has a flash agent, you can predict a flash will probably come out before they try to push you. And with that knowledge, you can prepare your body to make that quick mouse flick. With both components together, Sonder's able to dodge flashes easy peasy. To practice this yourself, we suggest going into a custom game with a friend and repeatedly getting into duels where you or your friend is flashing out beforehand. And you purposefully need to be in range of the flash, but attempt to dodge it and then get ready for engagement. In this scenario, you're anticipating and then reacting, just like we talked about. Repeatedly practice this for a few minutes before each game, and before you know it, you'll be a flash dodging master. Next up, we have to talk about how often Sonder makes the first move onto the enemy. And a big mistake we see players making is playing way too passive, where they let the enemy take control of the round and dictate the pace. In certain cases, this is okay, but when up against multiple players at once, you don't want to just sit there and let them come at you.
They're about to be challenged. Looks like Shopify Rebellion want to try and get in their faces. Get the fight going.
Oh
and
my God.
Sonder destroys 2 of them. We're into a 3v2 and it's favorable to Shopify Rebellion. Anya and Roxy, the last 2 alive, and Sonder is immovable. Sonder!
Let's break this clip down. This team makes it onto site, and they're suspecting players to be coming from B-Link. Rather than letting the defender slowly approach the site, Saunders takes the fight to them by throwing out a relay bolt. This forces Fade's teammate to back away, which in turn isolated her against 3 players of Shopify Rebellion. With the audio obtained from the first duel, we know there were more players nearby and they may have gotten stunned. Because of that, Sonder makes a more aggressive play and slowly pushes her way through Link to ensure she doesn't end up in a duel against multiple players. And by doing so, she isolates the duel onto the enemy Neon before pushing forward to push Astra, who is hit by the relay bolt. After these duels, Sonder's still in a sticky position at Link's. She could get shot from both Link's and Heaven if the enemy times their peaks together, and because of this, she decides to push Link again and get that initial 1v1 duel. Sonder then activates Sondering Time and flicks over to KO in the end and completes the 4K. This aggressive playmaking in a tight situation was a huge reason the round and eventually the map was won. Now, slow down there. Don't just run like a madman around the map trying to make aggressive plays every single round. There's a time and a place for everything. Particularly, you want to make the first move on the enemy when you're at a man disadvantage. If you wait for the enemy to come to you and you're a man down, you're easily going to get overwhelmed. And this was the exact situation Sonder was in. Another situation where you want to make the first move is when you can make a coordinated play with your team. And again, in the clip we just saw, a play was made with KO and Chamber present for backup. There was strength in numbers to help Sonder win the initial duels. We've talked a lot about big essential mechanics in Valorant so far, but what makes a player really achieve that top level is when they're able to think outside the box.
Watch them run.
Last player standing.
Last one, screens. He's stuck. Nice.
We've already seen some pretty unorthodox plays out of Sonder so far, but this play in particular really stuck out to us. In this clip, Sonder's about to be hit by multiple attackers in hell. She makes an insane play where she positions her ultimate onto site. This causes every attacker to turn their head over to the site and shoot the ult down. Sonder then returns to hell and has easy pickings on two players that had their backs turned. This is one of the first times we've ever seen Omen's ultimate used this way. There will be times when you as a player have to improvise when the going gets tough. Do something unique, something unexpected that the enemy likely hasn't seen before. This could be similar to Sonder's crazy nade and satchel placements when she was in showers and bind, or it could be something as simple as doing some sort of crazy spread out push onto a site. Something that's just not your typical side rush or side split. Having these sorts of ideas in mind will certainly throw the enemy off guard at times when you're struggling to win rounds. Well, that's all we have for today's video. Practice these mechanics and skills that Sonder has mastered, and you'll be well on your way to achieving the rank of your dreams and also dominating the leaderboards. And as always, we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.